What's going on, everyone? My name is Scott Geirman, staff writer, Dodger Blue. I'm here with one of my guys, one of my best buddies, managing editor of Dodger Blue, Blake Williams. How we doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
We're all right. Dodgers been playing well. Got to kind of bounce back this week. Doubleheader sweep, rolled that into a series sweep against the New York Mets. Offense really came alive in the finale. You like what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, it was pretty good to actually see them scoring runs and getting back on track after that. Felt like a very long stretch where they weren't doing much offensively, and it
Yeah.
felt like the sky was falling. So it's kind of a much needed win, or 3 wins there. I wasn't really panicked about them or concerned, but it's always better to see when they're actually winning instead of losing, and especially losing a lot of games.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just been, there's been some rotating pieces down at the bottom of the order, and it's kind of been a topic of conversation. I'm glad I've got you on here. We've had a couple videos in recent weeks, kind of highlighting a couple sour areas that could become bigger issues going ahead. Gavin Lux has been definitely been one. James Outman's send down has been one. Absolutely, stuff we have to talk about. But now a move that the Dodgers made on May 17th when they elevated Miguel Vargas from AAA to the Major League roster, something that I've kind of noted that it didn't feel like initially they were kind of going to give him the Andy Paz treatment, saying, okay, we see what you're doing in AAA. We know the upside. We're going to let you play every day. Go for it. For me, it felt like Miguel Vargas's elevation was more of a floor raiser for the bench because it's been such a black hole. You look on there currently. We can go through it. Jason Hayward, Andy Paez, Kike Hernandez, Gavin Lux at times, Chris Taylor. It doesn't inspire much confidence. Do you kind of co-sign what I said about it's kind of raising the floor of the bench there, giving them a little bit of upside, someone who we don't know who he quite is yet in 2024? Or do you think it's just kind of they're going to give him some run here, or at certain times, do you think they're just going to, deploy him in platoon roles?
So when they first called him up, I originally thought they were going to give him some run to play. I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense to call him up if he wasn't going to be playing pretty consistently. But
Mhm.
then he went through a stretch of not playing too many games, and Dave Roberts was asked about it, and he said they kind of called him up because he earned the opportunity. They had some injuries at the time. He was basically replacing Max Muncy on the roster, and they didn't really see him as coming in to replace any of their everyday starters or even entering into a platoon role specifically. So that surprised me a little because I just don't really see the whole point in calling him up to sit on the bench when you could call up like Andre Lipsius or someone to that effect, Chris Owings, just if you want to kind of raise the floor of the bench there. So it was a little surprising to me. I thought he'd get more of a runway to play, but so far, like, he has had some opportunities more recently, and I think that's been good to see. So yeah, I was a little surprised by it.
Yeah. I agree, totally agree. But in turn, once I kind of took a step back and looked at it and thought that we know what we're getting with the current bench. You saw James Outman get demoted to kind of go work on some things there. It presented an opportunity for, Miggy V to really, have those moments, have a spot, kind of carve a niche for him there, which I'm very happy he's in the league right now. I'm very happy they called him up just because it at a certain point you feel like there's prospects there's just nothing left to do, right, in triple A's, and he feels like a guy like that. 2023 was a year of big time injuries for him. It derailed his entire season going into the year. He was handed the reins at second base, was saying, Miguel, you're the second baseman, and then he has hairline fracture on his right pinky, spring training. um right at the first week of the season, gets hit on the thumb by a pitch, and from there, just things kind of snowballed. Um, what can you kind of say about those struggles early on, like in his rookie year? Like, because we know that spring training, it was like, just go up there, take your walks. And then for a point, it was cool. It was fun to see him doing that. But again, we had to realize this might be detrimental to his plate discipline, his attack, his approach. And we saw that roll into the year. His defense took, really suffered as a result of it. His offense was really bad. Like, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, say it was anything, but because he went up there and posted I think, 195, 305, and 367 slash. So it doesn't really inspire confidence in him heading into the middle of the year. But after he was sent down to AAA, he kind of figured it out as the season went on, just like a lot of Dodgers, did last year. towards the back half of the year, they gained some steam. And that's why I really think, with Miguel Vargas there, what do you think he's built on from his rookie year?
Yeah, so his rookie year was obviously a tough year for him, as he pointed
Mm.
out. He had high expectations from pretty much everyone, from prospect analysts to scouts to Dodger management to their coaching staff, just all around. Everyone thought he was going to be a really good hitter at minimum. And the question has always been been about his defense, where he's going to play, how you're going to get his bat in the lineup. But as you noted, he had the wrist injury. He struggled coming out of the gate, and they made him just watch all the pitches. And I think that kind of made him more of a passive hitter. He wasn't really aggressive on pitches in
Yeah.
the zone, and that kind of hurt him a bit there. And it took him some time to adjust back to that. And then just getting healthy, that kind of took a toll on him. Wrist injuries and hand injuries and pretty much anything with the arm, it's tough to deal with as a hitter because you rely so much on your arms for bat speed and bat control and just everything that goes into hitting. So when you don't have something there working for you, it's tough to come back from that. And then just everything coupled in together. He said he lost confidence during the season, and I think we saw that. So for him to go back to AAA near the end of the year and actually find success there, start hitting again, carry it into this year so far, I think it's been notable for him. Miguel Vargas has talked about how it's made him a stronger person. He's learned a lot from it. So I think you don't want to see a player struggle, but it can be a good thing at times for young players, because
Yeah.
in Major League Baseball, you're always going to struggle at some point. Even the best hitters are going to go through stretches where they just feel completely lost at the plate. So usually the separator for players is how do they rebound and bounce back from those struggles. So it's important to learn how to deal with that early in your career instead of, just kind of going through your whole minor league career without any struggles and then coming up and then you get humbled at the major league level and can't figure it out because you never dealt with that adversity. So now that Miguel Vargas has gone through that, he's bounced back and improved from it so far. I think it's only going to help him become a better player moving forward.
Yeah, and I think it's important, just what you said about going down and having those struggles early on. I think it's important for a player like Miggy V. Coveted hit tool going in, and it just injuries derailed that entire thing. And I'm really going to highlight that it was hand stuff is tricky. When you completely when you change your approach as a hitter, I think that can be a big detriment, and it's something that isn't talked about enough with him. That there was an incredible amount of potential and a lot of hype with him within the organization and around baseball. So, him going down on July 9th of last year through the rest of the season, I'm just as I scramble to pull through this, he had in AAA last year, went ahead and posted in, let's see, 886 OPS through the rest of the season or through his time there until he got called back up in early October. To start this year, he went ahead and had a 1019 OPS in AAA before they called him up this year. So the Dodgers really have a lot of confidence in him. It's good to see him start out the season in AAA really hot right now. And then they call him up, new, completely different look on the team. He's had a lot of time in left field. And that's something I think is important to note as well. Like he went out in AAA. They told him basically, we have to find a position for you. 56 and 2/3 innings in left field last year in AAA. This season, he has 306 and 2/3 innings in left field. So it's really something to note that he did exactly what's asked of him. Just like a lot of players, when you do exactly what's asked of you, it's something I highlighted the other night with Gavin Stone. The organization tells you that you kind of have to, work yourself into the mold, and he's doing that for himself. There's a lot of potential there, and they say we got to find a spot for you. They didn't do that with Michael Bush, but they certainly are going to do that with Miguel Vargas. Do you think that? I mean, I know you called it. I'm going to tip my cap to you. I'm not wearing one, but you said Miguel Vargas looks like could be the left fielder of the future. Do you think right now that's something that's still in play?
I think so. I mean, they've kind of locked him into that position now, and they
Mm.
basically said he's not going to be playing any infield spots anymore this year or anything. So I don't
Yeah.
see why they'd be doing that if they didn't have more long-term plans for him. The outfield is not set at this point right now, and it's definitely not set going into next year or the future years. So I think if Vargas can figure it out at the major league level, he has all the potential he needs to be their everyday left fielder moving forward from 2025 and into the future.
Yeah. So he had a nice play against the Mets. Let me see. I'm pulling it up. It was off Jeff McNeil. Yeah. It was on, 29. Yeah. Jeff McNeil batted ball to left. It was right up against the wall. Made a nice running catch there. Saved a run for sure. It was in the bottom of the fourth. That's right. So he had the athleticism to get to baseballs in left field. I know a lot of people are going to watch this and say he's trade bait. It's just propping him up there and he's just dangling him out. Let's see what they can get for him at the trade deadline. Honestly, I mean, it could be true. Like all things are in play there. But the Dodgers have a big problem with their outfield depth, and they really do. Teoscar Hernandez is on a 1-year contract. Mookie Betts is not going to play the outfield anymore. That's not going to be a thing. James Outman's in flux. Jason Hayward's on a 1-year deal. Andy Pages is still trying to find his feet. So they really do. Like, do you think, just pull this topic back for a sec, do the Dodgers kind of have an outfield depth problem currently where they can't really afford to be aggressive and saying, okay, Miguel Vargas could be a left fielder that we could use going into the future? Is he trade bait? Do you think the Dodgers currently have an outfield problem looking ahead, like in the next year or two?
Yeah, I mean, they have an outfield problem right now, and there's nothing that really signifies it's going to get better unless Pages and Miguel Vargas step up and take over roles and really run away with those ones, and maybe James Outman gets back on track, but we'll see what comes of that. I feel like that's more of a 50-50 chance at this point. So yeah, I mean, they have 3 young guys right there that could all run away and solidify their outfield for the next 5 years or so, or all of them could fail, which is not something that's out of the realm of possibilities. And then you're scrambling for essentially 3 outfielders next year and into the future, plus backups, because Kike's on a 1-year deal. Chris Taylor, you can't really rely on him, and we don't know if he's going to stay on the roster for this entire year. So yeah, they have a lot of problems with their outfield currently and in the future, and I don't think they're going to rush to trade away Miguel Vargas. Like, if the right deal comes up, sure, you move him, but I don't think they're going to be out there looking for deals to trade him in.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's also, we've seen Andy Pages come up, have a blazing April, 847 OPS, started to trend down. League's caught up to him. May, he's got twice the sample, and, he's at a 546 OPS. And we clearly see he's struggling right now. With it coming into play on Friday, tonight, 36 strikeouts, 4 walks in the month of May. So we see how the league adjusts to you. With Miguel Vargas, in reference to him, we've seen him so far put together good at bats. I know you spoke to me about it. I was a Miggy V guy right away. We both were. You were before me. I'll give you credit there. You put me on that hype. And it was just really tough for him last year. And that kind of, if he wasn't going to adjust with the league, I could see a moment where if he didn't have a spot defensively, the Dodgers were just going to kind of write him off a little bit. But the fact that he went out and figured out how to play left field, played efficiently. I think when his time in the minor leagues last year, he only made 2 fielding errors. So that inspired a lot of confidence back in me. Coming into the year, tons of pressure off. So far, he's had 3 hits, all extra base hits. What are some things you're specifically seeing from Miggy V right now?
For me, it's the bat quality he's taking. He's working into full counts. He's not really chasing pitches. We saw in the Wednesday game, he got into a 3-2 count. He took what should have been ball 4 on a pitch that was like 6 inches above the zone. And he was called out on strikes, unfortunately. We can blame the umpires there. Shout out robot umpires soon. But yeah, I mean, his at-bat quality has been really good. He's taking professional at-bats. He looks like he belongs now. And he has 3 extra base hits, including a pretty solid home run there. It wasn't a fluky homer. He hit it pretty well.
Laser.
He's driven in some runs. So it's been nice to see him actually start to get, like, maybe cement himself a little more into the major league level. It's not just looking for walks or kind of being in between, like we've talked about with Chris Taylor a lot this year, and even James Outman. Like, he's not hesitating what to do at the plate. He's aware if he should swing at the pitch or take it for a ball, and he's just taking really good at bats because of that. So he definitely looks more like he belongs so far, even if the results aren't fully there yet for what you want to see. But he's been in such a limited role so far. It's really hard to build a rhythm and kind of get into things there. But with the limited experience he has this year, he's been pretty impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. He had that, it's a bloop double. We'll call what it is. It was a, good things happen when you put the bat on the ball. He's had some strikeouts, but we're talking super limited sample. Just like you said, I think it's 13 at bats, 5 games, and that's all he's appeared in since May 17th. So it's tough. I don't know. It's Dave Roberts is in a tricky spot. He's having to find at bats for quite a few guys, some veterans on there. He's trying to get Chris Taylor in the rhythm, but it's just not happening. Chris Taylor's at 108 batting average on the year. It's just, 343 OPS. It's at a point where what do you do in that spot? What's best served for the team? It's not easy for, a veteran to be sitting on the bench. I think, okay, I have to ask you, is it easier? And I know your answer. I just want to hear it. Is it easier for a veteran to come off the bench in limited roles, or is it easier for a rookie to come off the bench in a limited role?
I think it's tough for everyone. Like when we're being honest about it, because baseball's tough, and when you don't have everyday at bats, it's going to be a challenge. But veterans definitely know more how to deal with that time off and how to prepare themselves to be ready for that role.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can see young players come up and just kind of thrive in those roles regardless. Like Kike Hernandez did it when he came up, and he was pretty good off the bench pretty much anytime they needed him. But usually veterans have it figured out a little bit more.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm headed. And yes, to your point, Kike, when he came up, it was that era of the Dodgers roster building. Those players had defined roles. Those bench guys had defined roles. The platoon guys that's what you did. And I think that's why they thrived. And that this year, I've spoken about it quite a few times, that the worry for me was having to deal with multiple platoons. And that's something that is really difficult because for that part of the lineup to thrive, they don't all have to be elite, but they have to be adequate. Like they have to have some plus. And right now Dave Roberts is dealing with about 4 players who are all trying to find their legs on the season so far. So to bring Miguel Vargas into the fold, and he looks like he's confident. He's barreling it up. We've seen 3 extra base hits so far. At bat quality, just like you said, is in a place where it's inspiring confidence in us. It's saying, okay, all right, this is a guy that you have to kind of give this. And I don't know, do you give? All right, we'll get to it in a sec. I'm not going to ask that yet. I've got a game coming up I really want to play that, and Blake's my guy to do it just because the dude just flat out knows ball and everybody doesn't want to hear it, but I'll let you know. But you're having to deal with Kike struggling, Chris Taylor struggling, James Outman's not here right now because he was struggling. Gavin Lux is playing second base because he can play defense. And Andy Paz they're giving him that run. So, and Teoscar's got an everyday spot. So right now you have to deal with center field, left field, right field, depending on platoons. And Jason Hayward's going to be out there against righties, although we saw him hit a home run in the nightcap on Wednesday. So what's interesting about Miguel Vargas is what do they do and how much run do they give him in left field? Do they turn those at-bats over to him in left field and say, Miguel, we're going to give you an extended run. We're going to see what you could do versus lefties, versus righties. And that brings me to this segment, my favorite segment. Andrew Friedman is Blake Williams. Blake Williams is Andrew Friedman. Blake, I need you to put on your Andrew Friedman's GM cap for me, if you've got one handy.
I got this.
There we go. Works for me. Andrew, Scott Geirman, Dodger Blue. I'm just checking in. Dodgers came out of a little bit of a slump, a little bit of a dry spell there in May. You called Miguel Vargas up towards the back half. He's played well so far. At bat quality's through the roof. Blake Williams, Dodger Blue, reported that he's likes what he's seen so far. Andrew, what do you think the Dodgers? What are the Dodgers going to do with Miguel Vargas moving forward?
They're gonna option him when Max Muncy is called up or back to being healthy. We don't know when that's gonna be, but in the meantime, they should give Miguel Vargas every single opportunity to play and start and earn a role moving forward because they need to. As Andrew Friedman, I'm someone who prefers clubhouse presence and maybe veterans sometimes a little too much. So we might not end up going that route, but yeah, I mean, Miguel Vargas is up here because he earned it, and he deserves a chance to play.
It's fair. All righty. Take your Andrew Friedman hat off. So it's just, and I'm with you. And like that's a tough thing because looking at the current group, you're like, man, they just can't keep spinning the wheels. They can't keep doing this. We're at a point where it's a sample. I think 75 at bats a good sample for Chris Taylor to kind of get a gauge out of where he's at. He hasn't shown much upside. He just looks in between where other players have shown that they're having these spots. But we've seen him do what it takes to win, lay a bunt down, all that's all well and cool. But say he doesn't get that bunt down and say that, it's just snowballs. He's had some defensive gaffes there in left field. He's booted a ball and it's just highlighted some problems. I'm not going to keep driving the narrative that, the easiest thing to do with Chris Taylor is to just, DFA him, do whatever, because that's not an easy thing. That's like a $20 million decision to have to, come down from the top. So that's something that's not easy. And I don't think it'll happen until the offseason. But Kike Hernandez, same thing. Veteran player, 1-year deal, not something they're going to do. He's not struggling to the point where you're going to get rid of him. They're just in a tough spot, and it's a numbers game now. And as much as I'd like for them to give Miguel Vargas that run, I'm with you. That when Max Muncy's back, which will be a big plus to the team, that's just going to do nothing but lengthen the top of their lineup. It's going to give them a top 6 now instead of a 5, and then you just drop to your knees in Walmart and pray that lineup you just saw hit your phone is not real. So, that's just a tough thing. It's a tough thing. It brings me back to the point where I feel that Miguel Rojas is somebody that needs to be in the lineup more. Miguel Vargas needs to be in the lineup. It becomes a spot where I'm very happy that they have these righties who are going up there and giving, very solid at-bat quality. Blake, do you think they're a little bit too right-handed heavy right now?
I don't think so, because they do have a good amount of left-handed batters.
At the bottom.
I mean, you still have Lux and Jason Hayward there, so I wouldn't really say that's the issue. I think the main issue with them is, like you've talked about it before quite a bit, a lot of their guys at the bottom of the order have the same kind of hitting profile where they're going to strike out a lot, they're not going to take many walks, and they're not going to hit for a ton of power. And that's kind of a tough group to have there like that, which is why I think they need to give Miguel Vargas some more run and get him situated more at the major league level, because he's kind of the opposite of that. He makes a lot of contact. He's got some pop. He knows how to take his walks, as we saw last year. So I think he's kind of the perfect complement type of player that they need there at the bottom of their lineup to help spark it. Like, Pages is great when he's on, but he's a guy who's going to strike out a lot. I think he took 2 walks in his first 100 plate appearances or something.
Yeah, about
so
that.
If he's not hitting for power, it's not great, and he's going to go through stretches where he's not hitting for power. It's something we've seen with Teoscar Hernandez this year so far. He'll go on stretches where he's going to hit 5 homers in a week, and then he doesn't hit one for 2 weeks or something. So it's tough when you have a lot of power hitters who strike out a lot. You can have a few of them. They don't hurt your team as much as a lot of people think they do, but you also need some contact, bat the ball, skill guys there. And that's why I think Miguel Vargas fits so perfectly at the bottom of their lineup.
Yeah, I think that's thank you. I've been screaming it so much. I think it's a quality, like it's profiles that could fix, it could remedy what's going on with the current roster going forward. I think that you see what Miguel Rojas is doing when he goes up there. His first thing is at bat quality, get barrel on the ball. And I would like a little bit more aggressiveness. You've seen Freddie Freeman do it when he's been struggling. He goes out and he's been attacking first pitch. It's great to go deep into counts, but when you need it, are you going to avoid that whiff? And I'm glad you brought that up about Miguel Vargas, because last year it's something that it's been big for him. This year, AAA, he's got a 16.6 strikeout rate, 18.8 walk rate. So when he has, and we saw it last year in MLB, like he had a 12.5 walk rate when he was up there. And even when he wasn't hitting, even through that time, he's got plate awareness, zone awareness, that it's a quality for him. It's something that he's got ingrained. So that's, even when he's struggling, that's something that he's going to hold, really high. And that's a reason why I liked him. It's because he's not going up there just wasting at bats. High slug guys are cool. We understand now. We always, say like guys like Max Muncy, yeah, they're going to strike out, they're going to walk. And that's something you can lean on, but he's going to have pop. That's something with Miguel Vargas. You might not always get the pop, but you're going to get the at-bat quality. But now it looks like he's making a little bit more contact. He's got a little bit more plate presence, and you can see it from the little we've seen him so far, the 13 at-bats we've seen so far. We're not going to get too ahead of ourselves, but when you're dealing with such, a barren group for 3 or 4 spots at the bottom of the order. You've got to pick and choose. You have to highlight guys who are on a roll there. I'm not saying you ditch the process of, giving these guys at bats, but you can't have them all together. You can't. You can survive with, like, just like you've kind of hammered on me, that you can survive with 1 or 2, but that third guy needs to be bat to ball inclined. That's something he needs to be looking for, his main tool that you can avoid, where you get down there and you say you have a leadoff guy in second base. Those next 3 guys aren't going to strike out. And then we're sitting here throwing a remote at the TV. So it's something that Miguel Vargas can do, and we've seen him do. So I'm with you. I think a lot of people agree, and they might just write this off that they don't care. They don't care what Miguel Vargas is doing because he won't be in MLB long enough for it to matter. But while he's here, either he's going to raise his value within the organization, he's going to keep turning heads, and eyeballs are going to be on him when he's out there. It's that he definitely can be a piece. He definitely is someone that possesses qualities that could help this Dodgers roster. The bottom of the order is something that, I don't want Gavin Lux batting anywhere higher than 8th or 9th. I think what he needs to be down there at the bottom of the order to turn that lineup over. But it's also something that Miguel Vargas could be. He could be that guy because he's going to be up there and perhaps get on base. He's going to, if the guys in front of him are on base, he's going to go and give you an at bat, turn the lineup over, give you a quality something. And then you've got RB opportunities for Mookie Betts, Ohtani when you turn it over. So definitely for me, it's something that I'm going to keep an eye out for. And it's somebody that possibly, if he keeps playing well enough, you might be playing the stocks. You might be looking forward to it, and you might be buying that little digital card of Miguel Vargas. When we get him on So Rare, Blake. I know you told me you were flaming me in my DMs about it. You were flaming me in my texts about it. Then I need to really, get with it, because I'm not so good at this game. I need you to preach to me a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually did get a Miguel Vargas card on Tuesday. So he's in my he's in my binder now. It's from his rookie season. So if you guys haven't joined us on So Rare yet, I'll say it's a ton of fun. When we first heard about it, I wasn't really sure what to think of it. I was a little hesitant at first, but I've really had a lot of fun playing it, and I encourage you all to sign up. You can join me and Jeff and a lot of our staff playing. Signups are free. You draft a team, you set your lineups every week, and you earn rewards that can be more cards for your collection, or you can even win money in some of them. So it's a ton of fun, and I think you should all join and get on So Rare with us. The link is in our bio down below if you do want to join.
Yeah, you compete against us, compete against Blake. When you own him, when you beat him in those tournaments, all those things, you can, just add him on the timeline and let him know. Get wrecked, Blake Williams, and, hashtag get wrecked, Blake Williams. That'd be great for me. I'll retweet that, this first thing I do when I wake up. So, going forward. Yeah, go ahead.
I set an NL only lineup, and I'm ranked 10th right now out of, I think it's a few thousand people. So doing pretty good there. I want to see someone come take me down, get me off my high school right now.
Yeah, they're going to, give you a swirly in your Andrew Friedman GM hat. I'm in. But any final thoughts on Miguel Vargas before we wrap this thing up? I know, just want to once again, wrap it up with, we understand that Miguel Vargas might not be up for a long time, but while he's here, we have to really dissect what he's doing on the big league roster while he's getting these opportunities, because he's someone that still has that runway in front of him. It's not behind him. I don't care what he did in 2023. We can take note of it, but he's definitely one of those players where we saw injuries affect him to the point where he looked like a shell of what he was and why he was such a coveted top prospect when they started him on the big league roster to open the year in 2023. Now it's someone who's got a clean slate. Essentially, he looks different. He looks more confident out there, and he's playing a new position and can stick with this big league roster. And I think that if he continues to play well, the Dodgers will find a way for him to be on the roster. I don't care what'll happen. They will figure it out. If they shock us with something, if Chris Taylor suddenly we wake up and he's not on the roster, something happens there, I don't know, an injury occurs, he's definitely someone that has earned it. Again, same exact thing. We talk about players, prospects that earn their spot. The Dodgers have an opportunity in their outfield. They have 2 spots where, aside from Teoscar Hernandez, Miguel Vargas can't play center field, but it's in left field that he could definitely get some run. Blake, any final things there to kind of drive that forward there, just so we can push this Miggy V hype train along?
Yeah, so well, I think Vargas is going to be the odd man out when they're healthy. There's
Mhm.
always a possibility that someone else gets hurt or the injury takes longer to recover than previously thought. That's already happening with Max Muncy. So who knows when he's actually going to be back? So Miguel Vargas has a real opportunity to take a spot, and I think he has the opportunity to possibly earn a starting everyday role if he keeps performing well. And I think he has the ability to do that because he has his confidence back. And that's kind of been one of the main things for him his whole career. He has one of my favorite quotes of all time. They were asked about like what position he sees himself best at, because that was always the biggest question with him. Where is he going to play? And his answer was, give me 3 at-bats in the game, and that's my best position, kind of thing. Like, that's a confident answer from a young player. And
Yeah.
to me, that's partly why it hyped me up so much about him, because you need to be confident when you're playing baseball, especially at the professional level. So I think now that he's starting to get his confidence back and he looks more comfortable, I think he has the potential to really take off. And I would like to see the Dodgers give him that chance to have some runway, build on what he's done so far this year, and really see if he can earn a spot this year to help them win now, or maybe just make the positive impression and get some more experience under him to potentially be a key piece next year. But I just really want to see them give him an everyday opportunity at this point right now.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Dodgers have a series coming up with the Rockies at home. It's good to get them back in LA. It feels like kind of an elongated road trip with the rain out there when they were in New York, heading in with a 6.5 game lead in the National League West. So they're at a point where, they're coming off a really difficult stretch there from early May until a little bit late May. It's good to see them have kind of momentum here going against not a softball schedule, because the Rockies have been playing somewhat well. It's good that the offense has kind of turned it around and the pitching's continue to carry. So it's definitely the Miguel Vargas narrative in that, like, what the Dodgers do and how they deploy him is something that we will be keeping an eye on. Again, everybody, don't take this to the Miguel Vargas stuff's too seriously to the point where we're thinking that he's going to just dominate the starting lineups. We're talking about a role player, someone who can come up and have an impact. But right now, with a team is top heavy, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, you need that bottom half. You need that lower third, somebody to kind of separate themselves. So to this point, we've seen what their current options were aside from Miggy V. And now looking ahead, we have to really monitor what he can do going forward so that later on in the year, if they do have to call him back up or he sticks, that he's someone that the Dodgers can kind of lean on and say, okay, now we can kind of deploy him out there, run him out there, and he might get that Eddie Pajes type of respect, and that he's going to be out there for majority of the time. Blake, last wrap up. Anything else, or can we send this one home?
I think we can send it home.
Let's do it.
Covered a lot. 30 minutes of Miguel Vargas propaganda. A lot more than I expected we get to, but
but it's important. It is too. Like these are things that like we talked about, a bunch. So we're just going to get on here. We're going to chat ball. It's something that we like doing a bunch. It's get on here. Let's just open it up. Stuff that we don't really get to tweet about, talk about, and just kind of pour the thoughts out. Stuff we see people in chat, clamoring about all the time, stuff we'd like to expand on. And we're going to do this again. We say it all the time. We're going to continue to do this more going forward. Blake and I, always a good conversation. Appreciate everybody joining in. Thank you for tuning in to Dodger Heads, presented by Dodger Blue. I'm Scott Geirman, staff writer, DB, managing editor Blake Williams. Always a pleasure to have you on here, buddy. Thank you for playing along with the Andrew Friedman GM game. Nobody else I would rather have that with. That's more rational, well thought out. Appreciate everybody. Make sure you hit the notification bell, slam the like button, subscribe button. Let us know down in the comments. Do you agree with Miggy V? Do you think he should get more run, or do you think he's just going to be another piece? But I really think you'll side with us that Miguel Vargas is somebody that could either be, and actually scrap that. Is he a trade piece? Is he a piece we can look out moving forward? Let us know. And then I'll pick and choose which people I reply to debating on if it fits my narrative. Thanks, everybody. You have a great rest of your day. Go Dodgers.